What's the crack, lads? So I'm a Warzone player, but I've been playing Cold War a lot, trying to get the guns leveled up in preparation for the Warzone integration on the 10th. So I got all the stats of the ARs, the SMGs, the LMGs from Modern Warfare and Cold War, and I put them into a chart here to compare them to see which guns are going to be good, or how will they compare. Will the Cold War guns be good in Warzone? And if so, which ones should I be trying to level up? So I've got all the stats here. I'm going to go through some of them here with you. Modern Warfare guns in blue, and the new Cold War guns are in red here. I've done AR, SMG, LMG so far. I think they're the ones that are important. Like, the ARs are really the most important gun in Warzone. The majority of players are running an AR of some kind. So, you see here, we've got a couple of stats that are important. People love a time to kill stat. They put great weight in that. I prefer a damage per second stat. RPM is also quite important. Shots to kill, sort of. First range drop off. Now, this is a kind of a controversial one here because Modern Warfare, some of the guns have 3 damage ranges, whereas Cold War only have 2. So it's kind of, I'll just show you here. I'll arrange by damage drop off, and it looks like all of the Cold War guns are much better. But for example, the AK-47, once that hits 38, that's it. For the rest of it, it's the lowest possible damage, whereas in Modern Warfare, a lot of guns will have 2 more damage ranges after the first drop off. So it's not really that accurate of a stat. Plus, you imagine a lot of the attachments are different as well, so it's a funny one. I wouldn't really go off that just yet, but it is telling. It looks like they will be good. Now, time to kill. I used limb measurements here because the headshot damage multiplier in Cold War is 1.4 across the board, whereas there's different headshot multipliers in Modern Warfare. Whereas if you shoot someone in the foot, it's going to give you a damage in both games, and it's comparable, I think. So here is the time to kill, and the top of the list is the better, obviously. The AS-FAL is a funny one because it's an exceptional gun, and the FAL is a single shot fire. So really the first full auto gun on the list here is the FFAR. It looks like all the Cold War guns are in the top half, for one. FFAR has a terrible recoil. I wouldn't even put it on here. Then you got the Ram 7. And then the AK-47 and the Krieg. Good guns. I think the QBZ is going to be a very good gun in Warzone because it's got good fire rate, good recoil control, decent damage, decent range. And even though it's one of the lower guns from Cold War, it's still well in the top half of the list of total guns. And then I'll just quickly throw up damage per second here as well. Again, all of the Cold War guns are in the top half. FAL and AS-VAL are funny ones to even have on this list. If you take those two out of it, then the top half is dominated by Cold War guns. So, for example, the QBZ has a 363 damage per second. Grau 341. So they're not miles apart. But I think this gun will fit nicely into the Warzone meta. And another one, if you're a new player or a less accurate player, rounds per minute is a good stat. The higher the rounds per minute, the more forgiving a gun tends to be. And in this, it's just, they're all kind of here, like middle of the chart. All pretty good. Like a Grau is 730, a very common gun. My QBZ is 680, so it's a bit slower in fairness. And all of the good guns from Warzone are at the top of this list here if you think about it. The Kilo, the Grau, Ram 7, M13, they're all top tier Warzone guns. And they're all above all these guns. So that's not a great sign. The XM4 has 722 and it'll fit in better in Warzone than the M4A1, I think, just because it's more accurate. But it's got a slower fire rate. And just to have a look at that from a different perspective, damage per second in the limb. Here's a chart with all the damage per second for the ARs. So you see Cold War beside the Cold War guns, all in the top half. So AK-47, it's quite a big drop off. You see the damage per second drop off here with the likes Grau, Kilo. And even though Kilo is low enough on this chart, it's the best gun in Warzone, so you kind of have to take everything into consideration. And here's the time to kill chart. Cold War, all top half of the list. The only outstanding one here is the AN-94, that terrible gun. But anyway, off topic. Dead centre of the list is a Cold War gun, XM4, and the time to kill. FFAR is going to be very jumpy. So then really you're talking AK-47, Krieg and QBZ that are going to be good TTK guns. This is at 250 health. We move on to the SMGs. So again, red is Cold War, blue is Modern Warfare. Damage per second in the limb, Cold War guns dominating the list here. So KSP is a burst fire, so really the first one on the list. A full auto SMG is the MP5. The Cold War MP5, renowned for being OP, and it is. I think this is going to be really good. AK-74U is also really good, and the Bullfrog not as much, just because it is. I don't know what it is about the Bullfrog. It doesn't sit well with me, but personal opinion. I think the MP5, you'll see a lot of MP5s and AK-74Us in Warzone when it integrates. Milano is the lowest on the list. It's not that powerful of a weapon. Good up close. And then in our range here by rounds per second. So both MP5s sit beside each other on this list. Generally, you'll want a faster fire on SMG. More forgiving, better up close. You're definitely going to see a lot of MP5s in Warzone when it integrates. And the TTK, again, all the Cold War guns top of the list. The SMGs are going to be great. You'll see a lot of these SMGs in Warzone when it integrates. Let's just have a look at the chart here. TTK Lim, KSP, really great numbers here, but that's a burst fire. You don't have to accept that if you want to use it. MP5 is obviously great. And big drop-offs here. I think the Cold War guns, SMGs, are going to be great in Warzone. And then the damage per second chart, kind of the same story. The Phoenix obviously is a unique weapon, but Cold War guns dominating here. And then last but not least, the LMGs. So DPS, mid-table here. Like if you think about it realistically, the PKM is probably the best LMG in Warzone at the moment. And then right after this on DPS is the 3 Cold War guns. So I think the Stoner and the M60 are good accurate guns. I think the Stoner is going to be the best LMG for Warzone. It's accurate but also has a decent fire rate. I'll just show you now. 722 puts it up there with the Holger PKM, but it's very accurate. I think it's going to be very accurate at range. And the TTK then, Stoner, middle of the list here, nothing exceptional, 566. The PKM is also 565, so they're actually much closer than this gives it credit for. Stoner and the PKM almost identical in TTK. And the damage per second then, Stoner, PKM, very similar numbers here. So that's my predictions. I predict Stoner will be popular. Will be a popular LMG in Warzone when they integrate. SMGs, you'll see a lot of MP5s and AK-74Us. And in Warzone, I think you'll see a lot of AK-47s, QBZs, and Kriegs as well. I think the QBZ personally is going to be my go-to gun at the start with Warzone. I think it's just it's a very good all-rounder, good DPS, good TTK, good fire rate, very good accuracy. But yeah. So if I left anything out, is there anything else you'd like to know about the guns and their stats and how to compare going into Warzone? Leave a comment. I will do another video individually on ARs, I think, using these stats, but also showing the recoil patterns, because the FFAR stands out on all these charts, but the recoil is exceptionally bad with it. So I don't think it's going to perform well in Warzone. So you can't just go off stats alone. And also some people just like the feel of guns, so not every gun's going to suit everyone. But yeah, I'll be doing lots more videos like this, less stat heavy hopefully. So if you did enjoy it or you learned anything, please subscribe or like, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.